Hey guys, my name is Ryan and I am the King of Booty Fab. And on today's video, we are continuing yesterday's video. This is part 2 of Hank, the beautiful 1953 International. It's sitting on an Art Morrison custom chassis. And yesterday you got to watch us get the body kind of centralized, get the mounts done, get everything dragged into place, and then drag everything back out of the way again. Work backwards so that we can drop in a absolutely phenomenal crate LS3 with, I believe it's a T56 6-speed manual trans. We're going to get the drivetrain mounted on this video. We're going to get the box finish mounted. We're going to do the center subframe that opens up and shows off all the bling underneath. All of the really cool stuff is on this video. So if you watched yesterday, this is the one you want to see. This is us getting it finished up so we can get on a trailer and go home. So I won't drag it out too long. We're going to get at it. But first, do me a favor. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. It really helped me out. Like the video if you pick up anything useful or you just enjoyed spending time with me. And drop me a comment. Give me some feedback. Do the whole YouTube thing. I love every bit of it. I love talking to you guys, reading your comments. They seriously brighten my day. Yeah, I love every bit of this. So I'm not going to stop you guys anymore. Let's get at part 2, and I'll talk to you quick when it's over.
Well, here's all the bling. That is an LS3 crate motor. A bell housing up to Dremx 6-speed, because that's cool. Yeah, feel a little insignificant at the moment. Okay. 6-speed, 3-speed, 6-speed, 3-speed. Yeah, this one's cooler because it's retro, but yeah, that's pretty cool there. So we're gonna dot out. Just gonna hook this up to a engine leveler here, hoist that up in the air. We've got to get the bell housing on, but we got a new oil pan for this too, so we got to get it up in the air, see what the difference in the pan is, swap the pan over, bell housing on, transmission on, and into the chassis. He's actually got a motor mount kit for it and everything. He got all the bits and pieces with the Art Morrison chassis. So we've got engine mount, tranny cross member, transmission mount. What else have we got here? Trans mount. We got all the parts pretty much ready to go here. So, oh, front sway bar to go on still. Yeah, and just keep putting away with this thing all mocked up so it can come apart for welding. Old pan off, big pan, new pan to go on, new dipstick, wandage tray, pickup, get all that swapped. Then we can put that on. Well, wasn't any drama at all dropping this in. That's the nice part about working on a bare frame. Nice clean shop. A lot easier than out in gravel. But transmission's bolted up to the motor. We got the oil pan and everything swapped. We've got motor mount tubes. They came pre-bent with the tubes. The motor mounts are already there. What we're doing is we've got the measurement between the frame rails. Art Morrison shipped us up this really nice crossmember kit. Comes with the bent tube. We've got these. So basically, we take the distance between the frame rails, we subtract this, and that gives us a length for that tube there. Split whatever's left over in half. We're going to take that off each side. That way it's centered in the frame. There's no reason not to center it. He's just marking off what we got to take off each end, because basically we've got the mount already bolted up to the trans. This will go onto the bracket. This welds to this. This welds to the frame. That holds everything in there. We got to set the angle here. We have, you can see down here, we've got a piece of 2x4 and a clamp. It's actually clamped right to the cross member there. That way our oil pan is no lower than the cross member. That's the absolute bottom we want to go. You can see the clearance here. That's why the new pan gives us a ton more clearance. Now, when we moved the motor back, or the body back, the cab, we took a measurement, body mount to firewall. Sharpie, see, this is our firewall mark. So if the motor is here, you can see, step back, That means that motor is actually going to clear the firewall as it exists. Probably bring it back a little bit more, just because it'd be nice if basically this head was just off the firewall. We got lots of room in the middle here, and it's literally would be this area right here. So we want to get that cylinder head almost touching that. Give us 1/4, 5/16 worth of room. Looks like we won't even really have to massage it because we have a mile of clearance up here. Remember, the front clip is actually in front of this. So all of this here is room for radiator and fan and all that goodness. Mountains of room. Okay, tip for setting all this up. These obviously have to be square to the frame. Now the frame, in this case, the rails are parallel the entire length. So the easiest thing to do, we figured out our measurements for our width. Clamp this down to the table up to the edge, and we can square this off. And then these brackets just get clamped to the width. And we can rotate this to whatever angle. We couldn't run it completely perpendicular because we had height issues. This was going to hang way below where the mount, and this was going to end up over the frame. Clamping this down like this means that one person can slide this in, prop it up, tack it all together, and when we go to throw it in the truck, this bolts to here, and everything's already perpendicular, ready to go. There we have it. All that prep work worked out pretty beautifully. You can see here, Sharpie marks. We got everything lined up where we wanted stuff. That way we could tack up the side plates, line up the transmission. Once we had that done, these motor mounts are pretty simple. These are just a 90-degree bend. So once the back end was located, all I had to do was measure from the bolt out to the frame, bolt down to the frame, notch out the bottom for, in this case, the steering rack hardware, notch that out, and that's dropped in there. And right at this moment, it hasn't even been tacked into place. We've just double checked all the measurements, made sure everything works. We clear our steering here. Right, we can see our steering joint, so that's going to have a pretty simple path. We're going to have to deal with the exhaust, or he's going to have to. But yeah, that'll come up to the firewall now. This is where our marks came in. This is firewall, and as you can see, that's where that ended up. We did this because once we lined everything up, where that was going to clear the firewall, our motor mounts were going to be all the way off the end. This tube was going to land in the middle of this. Plus, we'd already accounted for the fact that there's a huge pocket here that was going to be completely empty. But we can clearance this a little bit. It'll basically be this window here, a little bit in here. We'd already prepared for that. So we're going to trim this out, slide that cab forward, and start working on some of the cooler stuff, if it gets any cooler. With cab pulled forward, we know it's about 14 inches from the mount to there. We're going to tape measure up to the firewall, and that gives us our Sharpie mark where we got to cut out just to make some clearance for the back corner of the head here. It's not a whole lot, but we got a whole lot of room back there, so may as well give us a little bit of breathing room. We're just going to notch that out, and then we can pull this cab forward, put it back on the mounts, and we're going to start making a buck for the doghouse. Something we can bend sheet metal to even if the motor's not here. And yeah, that's the next step. Well, this is where I'm leaving it today. I'm out of here for the night. But I got this all cut out. Motor's poked through the firewall. Still got boatloads of room everywhere now with that notch out. And in here, cut out just enough for the shifter to poke through. See motor coming through the firewall here. And next up, we're going to make a buck to cover up this trans hump and to patch in the firewall. We got some original floor pieces we can use, and then some custom stuff in the middle. Make the doghouse here, trans tunnel. And yeah, the goal is to make it look like we didn't do anything with it. But I'm going to be out here tomorrow night, and we can get at the back end. We got some crazy stuff to do to the bed still. Well, a lot of stuff going on here. didn't film the process, but right now we got the cab suspended. Whole drivetrain's been out, gone back to the owner, but got the cab hung. Dustin's been welding out all these brackets, making them look good. And want to be able to get all these brackets, work at them so we can clean them all up. The biggest difference is this beautiful structure in the back. Oh, he's on it. So basically we wanted a structure so that this will open and in shows, be able to see all the bling underneath. Since the whole truck is going to stay patina, all the cool stuff is underneath. Working on the latches right now. Got some latches and some bump stops that are going to go down here. Push a button, this is going to hinge up. And brackets are all set up so that once the weight of the wood is on here, we'll be able to double up shocks, change the rate. We can get these in different poundages. Now, moving even just the bottom of this 1 or 2 notches over changes how fast this opens, changes how much it supports. So we got a bunch of holes for a lot of adjustability, plus we can double or even triple up the shocks if we absolutely had to. The owner's goal here is so that all of this looks factory when it's closed. And normally, say along the front, there would be a piece of angle on top of the wood. So when this closes, the wood there will butt up against the angle. You'd never even know this opens as long as the wood is set to the right width so that it can be attached to the width of this. And then when it's closed, it looks like a factory old bed floor. When it opens, you get all this bling. So we're finishing up getting all this stuff welded up so we can finish tearing it down. This thing's going to be all finished up today so it can go home to its owner. Well, we got this thing all mocked up, so everything's tacked together, stitch welded, ready to blast apart. But I figure I'd show you what's going on here. Obviously, we've got our whole hinge and everything set up. Got some corner gussets here. Now, what these are, I got these off Amazon. They're a push button quick release latch. So this fits into a panel. And when the ball stud goes into it, if it'll focus, there we go. It clicks back, and to release, all you do is push that and it pops it back out. These are great for panels and stuff. I'm going to use a bunch on my rat rod. We are using them in the back here. You can see the panels on the side. We've got hood stops. I'm going to machine a nicer spacer than some washers here, but this is just to take the loads. We don't want the latch holding it. Now we're using them the opposite way that normally you would. Normally this would be up like this. This is what you would see. So that is like so. We've got push button on the bottom. Same on the other side. Reach inside and can release there. But what's nice, this just slides down. You can hear them click, and that is in. And doing it one-handed, I'm gonna pop one at a time. And it just opens all its own. Now we'll be able to fine tune that for speed and weight once he gets all the wood on. Like I said, we can change all the angles, we can change the struts, we can double up the struts. We got a lot of stuff we can do here. But now this thing is ready to blast apart. So next up, this comes off the frame. That way we can finish welding out all our brackets, finish welding out all this, blast it all apart, dress all the welds, and reassemble. And then we've just got a little bit of work to do on the front clip, and it's going home. Nice thing about hot rods is everything is relatively light, especially this heavy bed, which is now super accessible. Sure looks good on the underside though. Starting to do the reassembly here, and I don't know if I've shown this. Dustin redid this cross member here. We needed it for tranny clearance. The old cross member just about not quite cleared. Needed about ½ inch cut out of it, but we want some room to work around it. So it's got a new cross member here, cut out in the floor for the shifter back there. The motor mount kit came from Art Morrison with the rest of the frame, so we got all that notched in. Seen all that in the video, but he's got it all welded in real nice. Everything's blended out. Cap the end of the frame, body mounts. And we're planning ahead for while this clips on. Some brackets on the bottom so we can make some bumper mounts. But this is the last shot before we throw the front clip on here and get some brackets to support that hood. And that's the last details for this go around. Well, getting to the front end of this thing, and needed a way to hold up the hood latches. I showed those earlier on, but we were stewing on this for a while, and we came up with a game plan. So let's see if I can find my picture here. Made a little measurement, gauging across the center line, measuring the arc up of the curve of the fender, traced out the angle from the firewall compared to the straight edge, and ended up with a piece off the table, which, if we slide into place, it's just like that. So I'm going to make a flange up there. This is going to go under the fender, and mark all these holes. And then we just got to tie that down into the core support here, and make a couple of loops for the hood, and this front clip is buttoned up. I'm actually impressed this came out first shot. Got this thing all clamped up. Basically all I did was rough a line distance down from the edge with the Sharpie and clamp it up into place. A couple of pairs of ice grips. And this has a little bit of give in it. If I pull it up, lines up perfectly square with my flange there. So we're going to cut a piece that captures these two factory bolt nuts. We've got that on both sides. Haven't test fit the other side yet, but with it clamped up into place, I didn't want to gamble on the bolt holes. So with it clamped into place, it's super easy to mark everything now, and make sure all the holes are perfect. Then I can drill these. I'll measure up for this flange here, and then we can cut out the flange, bolt this back up, tack that, pull it out, weld it up good, and then in the front there's a bolt hole right here on both sides that we can pick up. There's a grommet here for wiring and stuff. We want to avoid that, but we can use this bolt hole. We don't want to tie anything back to the frame directly without rubber mounting it, because we do have body bushings on all the contact points. So if we tie into that hole there, that'll give us our structure. And I took this all apart to begin with. This is the center of our hood latches. So I know this is where this is going to end up. We've just got to build a little structure that stands up, has our little hook, and that'll be that. So next time you see this, this will be bolted up and welded up. Well, while I'm over there working on this end, Dustin's got this all broken down. So we finished welding this out at the same time. Pretty quick, this is reassembled, back on the truck, and one more thing off the list. Well, I'm glad there's no drivetrain in here while I'm trying to do all this. I'm in the engine bay. A little bit cramped. Thankfully it's up on blocks, so my not small build can fit inside of here. But you got a driver's side latch there. Focus on the passenger side since I'm pointed this way. So this handle, this is released right now. When the handle cranks over back, it's up right outside right now. When it cranks over to the back, it pulls this over, everything's spring loaded. So, see this pathway that the latch piece goes, there is a U-bend rod that comes up through this slot right here. And when you drop the hood on here, flip the handle over, this hook right here is going to hook onto the U-piece that I just bent. I'll show you that in a minute. And then it's all spring loaded. So with that on both sides, it's essentially like hood pins, holds this whole structure down. When you release one, the spring loaded piece allows it to pivot on that and go up. So we're going to bend a couple of hood prop rods, which will, pivot here and Oh, I think they push right here. I'll have to double check, but it opens up on this. So this is the hood latch and the hinge. So what I'm gonna do is, Sharpie, I'm gonna mark this slot here, and we're gonna cut a plate which bolts down to this piece with some room for adjustment. And we're gonna mark this slot here. That way we can center up this bracket. I'll build a bracket, bolt it down. We're gonna put the hood back on, crawl back in here. Once we crawl back in here, we can cut our little U-shaped piece to height so it's on the right angle, because these two pieces aren't exactly on quite the same angle right now. But we'll cut it to the right angle, come in here with the welders, tack it into place. Then we can pull this hood back off and weld everything out, and it should all work. The factory stuff is pretty simple too, but trying to make this as clean as possible. We want it to be total hot rod, really well done under here, but we're kind of limited on how it all works because we want this whole hood to pivot off either side, just like factory. So we're gonna make it work. So I'm gonna mark this fender, we'll pull it off, I'm gonna cut a couple of brackets, we're gonna get in here with the welder. I've got these all welded up. These can just be finished up. Now what I did is these are slotted. That allows us some front to rear movement in line with the hinge. We don't need a ton of movement because once it's bolted down, but I want a little bit of room for forgiveness. These are loose right now because what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna grab the hood, I'm gonna throw it on top. These are a pretty tight fit into this slot here. As long as they fit through that slot, we're good. So if I take the hood, I throw it up here, I can crawl underneath with a couple of wrenches, tighten this down with wrenches once the hood's in place, and that finishes that up. I just got to get these welded up, get these pulled up and welded to that, and put in a couple of prop rods. Since it opens on both sides, we need prop rods on both sides. But got a piece of solid rod right here. We're going to bend up some new ones. Leaving all the inner fenders as they were, came off the truck. That way he can sell them or throw them on the wall, save them for another project, whatever. If we're going to go all custom, I'd rather build it all from scratch. We're trying to make it clean. This is a whole lot cleaner than the setup that was there before. And once this is all painted up, it's gonna look phenomenal. Hood's open, it shows. It's the little touches that really matter, and we're going the extra mile here to make sure that it's very clean. We're super happy with this, but I'm gonna throw the hood up, I'm gonna tighten this down, and then I can show you the hood opening on either side. Well, with the hood thrown on here, the only way you can see this is from inside the engine bay with me. So here we go. There's our bracket, and you can see it pokes through there. And you can see this hook. When this comes over, that hook's going to engage on that. And since it's spring loaded, it actually tensions up, sucks everything down tight, holds it into place. It's a really trick setup. But you can see here, that's centered up in our gap there. This one's centered up here, so I'm good to tighten down the bolts. It's in place, and yeah, I'm gonna open this thing up. Well, this doesn't look any different from the outside, other than the fact that that handle's down, and well, trying to do this one-handed, but I'm pretty sure that if you lift up on the hood and it moves the whole truck, pretty sure that means it's securely fastened. So I'm gonna see if I can undo one side of this and get it to hinge open. Might actually have to mess with the spring tension a little bit. Yeah, I don't exactly have a manual for this, and I haven't had this latched down at all. Front clip wasn't bolted on when we got it, and we had to pull the inner fenders to get the front clip on. So I'm assuming it's got a little bit too much tension. It's not super easy to open yet, but as you can see, it does unlatch and open up, so it's a good start. Got my shop inspector working with me here. She's woken up from her nap. She's just checking to make sure I'm doing it all right. Super important job. Quality control. I think she's telling me it's lunchtime. Well, got the brackets lengthened for the hood. Made them about ½ an inch longer. I don't know exactly what the spring tension is supposed to be on this hood. I haven't messed with this system at all before, so we're kind of guessing. It does tilt open, but I haven't done the prop rods yet because we've got to do the inner fenders. There's some work to do up front, so I'm thinking that's best left to when we fine-tune all the metal underneath there. So we've got everything installed. All the running boards and stuff are good. We've tightened up all the gaps. I mean, honestly, this stuff fits better than it did factory at this point. Everything's all bolted up tight. Yeah, you saw Dustin hammering that bumper straight. It looked like it'd been run over by a train, but got that all back together. Basically, we're going to get some brackets done for that bumper and put the tilt portion of this bed back in for the last time. And I think it's time to put this thing on the ground right away. Well, Dustin stayed out in the shop for a few hours last night. And last touch on this truck was to straighten out this bumper, trim it back, make it match these body lines. There's just something about a bumper that fits right, that just finishes out a whole project. And this bumper is just the right level of smashed up still. It's kind of perfect. So we've got it down on the ground. It's obviously sitting up from ride height in the front. It's going to have a killer stance once the motor's in here and the coilovers are adjusted down. But the hardware's all tight. And it's ready to go on a trailer home. So the owners dubbed this truck Hank. There we go. I know it's Hank. He had a friend of his help him sort it out off a farm, I believe, heading east. And yeah, it's just the perfect level of patina. No fake modern patina, just perfectly weathered. The back end's all clean. Everything opens and closes like it should. It's almost a shame to cover this up with wood when the time comes. It sounds like he's got some super killer ideas though for the wood on this. Keep with the patina. The whole truck's just gonna look like it came off a farmer's field until you fire it up or open the hood. And yeah, it's gonna go on a trailer. It's gonna go home. This was one of the most fun one-week builds we have done in such a long time. And yeah, this is where our journey stops today. And the next time we see it, I'll make sure to record all that too. Thanks for checking it out, guys.
there we have it, guys. That is a week with Hank. Probably what I'll call the videos. This build was an absolute blast. I probably said it far too many times, but I had a ton of fun putting this truck together. I love the combination of old and new parts. His drivetrain picks are just perfect. They are bang on. I love the fact that the truck's going to be patina up top and all of the cool stuff is going to be underneath. And obviously, I love the fact that I got to be involved. Working with Dustin is always a pleasure. He is kind of the yin to my yang sometimes. I like to pound stuff together quick. I got a lot of old skills. Dustin is very detail oriented and picks up the slack where I leave off. And we work super well together. And it's always a privilege to be able to hammer out a build like this with him in his shop. I hope we get to do more of them. But for today, like I said, this one was a blast. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I promise you there is more content coming like this, better than this. Who knows? Who knows what tomorrow brings? But I promise you there's going to be more videos, and I'm always working on something cool, or cool to someone. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop me a comment, tell me what you think, do the whole YouTube thing. Because without you guys, this channel doesn't exist. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you tuned in yesterday and got to see the whole build. If not, check back where it started. I break it all down for you. And I hope you tune into future videos. Right away, we'll be back at my car. I'm already filming video for my next episode. We're getting on the tin work on my 39. Got some really cool stuff coming up. I got a lot of stuff in the works right now. I'm finally getting back into my game. It's been a long time that I kind of been knocked out of my stride between illness and injury and family stuff. It's been a while, and I'm getting back in my groove here. And nothing makes me happier than being able to go out and work on the cars. And yeah, sharing it with you guys is definitely a bonus. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you on the next one.